Hi there, welcome back to Common Fitting Adjustments for the Carpe Diem dress. I'm Ray Cumby and I'm so glad you have joined me. And we are going to look at adding width to the bust area. If you have not enough width, you will see in your mock-up, it will be pulling perhaps this way. It's interesting when we make this adjustment on the jacket, we can see it because the balance lines are skewing out because they don't have enough room to come together in the center. But in the dress, you might actually see the balance lines being pulled into the center because there's no opening there in the front for it to be accommodated. It's a little tricky if you've worked with one and not the other. But we're going to add a little bit of bust width into the CD front. I'm not going to demo this on the AB front, but you could very easily do it if you needed to. And the other thing I'm going to show in this video is a scoop in the shoulder. Many women who need that extra width because of a full bust also need a little bit taken out in the shoulder, a little scoop we call it, to get a little closer fit in the hollow of the dress. We know for a fact that many women who need extra bust length also need extra bust width. So we are going to presume that someone came into our booth and tried on our medium shell, jacket shell, in the CD front, and we assumed that they needed extra length by looking at the way the lines were curving up from the bust line down. And then we also sensed that it was too tight across the bust and they also needed extra width. And so we have the medium here as our main pattern and our neckline because we loved the medium neckline, the medium shoulder area for the person who was wearing it. But we need to go out and add, and we're going to presume that we needed to add about 3/4 of an inch beyond the size medium, and we would have known that because the pattern, the jacket would have been really pulling tightly and not fitting properly. But we didn't want to necessarily go up higher in the, so we're actually going to mark our 3/4 of an inch here in the center of each dart. We've already added that bust length to this pattern, and now we're going to add some bust width as well. And we know that we want to be here at the medium in the shoulder area. And so we're going to come here in the shoulder, and actually we'll start from here, and we're going to swing ourselves out, maybe even a little above. We'll see if we can find a nice line. These are tricky lines to find. You can't always find the starter. Sometimes you have to start. So let's start. Let's just get ourselves started here. And we talked about this when we were going between pattern sizes before. So we're going to come here and see what that looks like. And then we're going to find a line that connects to that and then allows us to move, to swing out to that size that we need. And sometimes you have to rotate that ruler around. Oh, look, that gives us a much better connection. We always want to blend along the original line. So we're going to lay our ruler down so it's running at least, you know, 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch along the original line. And then we're seeing that it's coming here to that dot that we put on the pattern. And I'm going to come out here like this and create that extra space. And then we're going to come in here and create this curve, very similar to the curve that we already have on the pattern between the two darts. And that is just about right. And then we need to come back here, and we know that the person who will be wearing this looked great in the medium in the hips. So we need to come back down into the medium in the hips. And that's kind of a tall order, but I believe we will be able to do it. And from this point, we do not have to blend, but we definitely have to blend down here. So let's see what we can find here. We're going to blend. Look, that's a nice blend right there. and it's taking us up into the dart in a way, and we'll look at that line and see if we think that's pretty good. I think it's a little bit too much right through there. Let's make a little bit extra there in the bust. And sometimes we have to do a couple of lines to find what we're looking for. We need to make sure that the bust is being accommodated, but that we're getting back down here into the side. If you are full busted, you can actually see that this would be really useful for you to be able to come out in the back, and so then you are creating with this extra space and the extra dart area the fullness that you need in the bust. When you make those darts, you actually get this really nice area for your bust to sit in the front of the Carpe Diem. And so that is why we have done this. Now, we are going to look at one more thing, because many times a person who needs this additional width here in the bust also needs what we would call a scoop in the shoulder. And this seems so counterintuitive. In a way, it makes your pattern look really wonky, but we do know that when your bust is full like this, your hollow can be particularly obvious, and it needs to be accommodated in a certain way so that the shoulder line looks normal. And so we might have told you when you tried on our jacket mock-ups, and if you've been sized in the jacket, you would want to make very similar adjustments to the top, that you needed to scoop this front area below the shoulder, but not at the shoulder itself. And again, this is something what we do see in women who are very full busted and need to have these sorts of adjustments. And so we would want to, so here is our 5/8 inch seam line, which we could draw on here. And we know at the seam line, we have to be at the medium, so it connects to the medium in the back, which would fit this person perfectly, we know. And we're going to come down here and come a little below that before we start our scoop. A scoop is where we're just literally taking a little bit away, carving a little bit out so that the pattern actually fits you a little bit better. And it's a tricky business, but it does mean that your garment will fit you better. So let's see if we can find a good way to get this scoop in here. And I'm going to come here, and I can actually get a really nice line right here into the original medium line, which takes a little bit more out there in that front. And then we're going to come down this way a little bit and find, and when you're doing this, you have to blend into two lines, which is a little bit trickier, but we are going to be able to do it. So we're going to come here and blend out so that we have a nice line there, keeping our notch in the right place for the medium, because we are still working on the medium. We're going to be using the medium sleeve, the medium side panel. Everything about the medium was great, except there wasn't enough bust, and there was just a little too much right in through here. So we have now scooped out that area, and we have also added here into the bust. And then the next step would be to actually trim this so that you are ready, and we will true our darts while we're doing that. I'm going to fold this here and fold that dart in, and fold this here and fold this dart in, so that we get that space there, and you can see those darts are really giving us the space that we need. And so we're going to come here. Here come my scissors. You're going to be seeing them in just a second. And put that notch in. I always draw my notches in, not everyone does, but I like my notches to come out. You will put them in as you like them. And let's get this here. And you can see that those lines are very pretty. They're definitely adding into that bust in a way that it needs to be added into without... Okay, and so there we have our pattern adjusted for extra bust width as well as extra bust length, and scooping this shoulder area. So the person who is very narrow in the top, and we know that you are out there, we have met you, and we know that this adjustment works for you, is helpful. And if you needed to scoop it a little bit more, you would even be able to scoop it just a little bit more. Be careful though to not overfit that area of the bust that is above the bust line, and where you do have a hollow. You want the fabric to just sort of loosely lay over top of it, not make a big jog, shall we say. You don't want to fit that too tightly, even though you are very closely fitting the bust, so that it has just the right amount of width and length to use. Now, if you have made all these adjustments to your pattern, and sometimes we would do them incrementally. Sometimes we would add the length first and make a new mock-up, and then add the width next, or we'd add the length and the width, and then we would scoop out the shoulder. And you can do them as you wish, but you will want to at least make a wearable mock-up to test this enormous number of changes. If you are full busted, a little more full busted than our CD allows for, and then you will know. And then the last thing you have to do is you have to adjust the facing so it matches. And in this case, it doesn't have to be adjusted in the dart area, but you would definitely have to adjust it in the shoulder area, so that your facing will fit properly onto the, and so if we line up here, the front along the fold, I'm going to stick a couple pins in here, or you could put a pattern weight if you had one. I can have one right here I can put in the shoulder. We did not change the shoulder, you might remember, but we did scoop a little bit out of here and then begin coming out to accommodate. And I had drawn those large and extra large lines here. And so we're going to take our curved ruler and look for that place that we used. See if we can find it. And we're going to come here and create that little bit of extra space in the facing. Take out that little bit of extra space so that you are ready. And I did not get that quite right in here. So you can always redraw your line. If you remove your ruler, sometimes the shadow of the ruler throws us off a little bit. And then if you do make a line, you need to make sure you identify which line you need. We need that inside line. So we have drawn that new line that we need, and we're going to come here and trim this so we know which line we're going to use. Since we have so much here, find those paper scissors. And we have this beautiful new magenta line. Need to make sure we have that medium notch. I'm going to add it here, and then I'll actually put it on in there. So that our facing now reflects the same adjustments as this is the sleeveless facing. If you were using the regular jacket facing, the regular dress facing with the sleeve, you would just need to do a very tiny little bit of adjusting at the bottom of the facing. So we have added bust length, width, and then we have also reshaped this shoulder area with a scoop to get a clean fit for someone with a generously sized bust. Thank you for watching as I adjusted the Carpe Diem dress front pattern for additional bust width and a little scoop in the neck, in the shoulder area to give someone with a full bust a nice shaping through the square armhole.